I'm here with Paul Scheer, actor and comedian that stars in the FX hit show about fantasy football, The League. I personally am a huge fan of both him and the show, and we're really thrilled to have him here with us this evening.
Well,
So
thanks so much for having me.
thanks. Okay, so Paul, I know that you do play in a fantasy football league in real life because I saw you on Conan, and I heard that you do play. But my question for you is, have you ever had an interview where they didn't ask you if you play fantasy football?
No, not lately. I mean, for this show, it is pretty much all about fantasy football. I do another show called NTSF SDSUV, which is about like fighting terrorists, like Jack Bauer kind of war show. They asked me, even in that, if I play fantasy football.
So do you like getting asked that question?
Yeah, sure. I don't. There's never like a really good follow up to it. It's like, hey, do you play fantasy football? And you go, yeah. And it's like, cool. And then I just go,
Right.
okay, then there's no way to go.
Well, I think I might have a pretty good follow-up because
All
I know
right.
that the league that you play in is with the other crew members, right?
That's one of my leagues, yeah.
Okay, so are you guys like, really intense about it like you guys are on the show?
To a certain extent, I would have to say that the creator of the show, Jeff Schaefer, and his wife Jackie Schaefer, they consider themselves football aficionados. Jeff, has been playing for years, and he's very, very competitive. He's on the message boards all the time, and Jackie is also that way. But they have, Jeff has never won, and so it gets him actually really angry. Steve Ranazzisi also considers himself an expert and has never won. So
Just like on the show, right?
yeah, exactly.
So I know you're a comedian and actor, not a human behavior expert. But being on the show, I'm sure you must have thought about this. What do you think really draws people to fantasy sports?
I think there is a lot of fun. I mean, basically, you get this ownership over your team. Like, I'm so smart. I did this. But, I mean, when you really think about it, you didn't do anything.
Right.
It's like, people go, are you good at fantasy football? Be like, I'm kind of good at guessing. So, yeah, I would be good at fantasy football. But I think there is, like, it makes you have, like, it makes football, to me, way more interesting. Like every Sunday, I'll watch the Red Zone channel on my TV, and it's the best because you have like interest in every game. Like you pretty much have a player that you're either rooting for or against. It makes it a little tricky when you're rooting against your team. For me, it's the Jets.
Yeah, I'm a Jet
But
fan too. Awesome.
but for the most part, I think it makes everything more exciting. It's kind of like gambling, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. But what I find about fantasy sports is that there doesn't actually have to be money involved for you to get, really intense about it. Do you agree?
I totally agree. I think it's like a lot about pride and beating the other person, and
Yeah.
I think that it becomes like this thing. Like I know that I definitely have a better Monday when I have won all three of my leagues. I'm like, yeah, and you really get down on yourself, like, wow, why did I do this? But now I've gotten into the point where if my bench didn't outscore anybody in my on my starting lineup, then I'm pretty okay.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
all
because
right, I
then,
wouldn't
then
have
at
won
least
either way.
you did as much as you could.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So, I religiously watch the show, and I've seen, multiple NFL players come on the show, Chad Ochocinco, to name one. What is it like having them on the show?
It's great. One of my favorite people that has been on the show has been Terrell Suggs for the Ravens, and he's amazing. Like he was so funny and so quick. We have actually a surprise guest star coming up at the end of our season, which I can't mention yet, but he was also really good, and he has been a very solid running back this year. So I can't tell you any more than that. But
Okay, I have a few guesses. I'll definitely be on the lookout for that.
yeah.
So another interesting question I think is, there was almost a lockout this season. Would you guys have had a show if there was a lockout?
Yeah, absolutely. The show is, about fantasy football, but it doesn't revolve around fantasy football.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I always tell people, like, if they're like, well, I don't watch football, I don't play fantasy football, it's like, it really isn't about that. All you really need to have to enjoy the show are friends that you hate. And it makes it all worthwhile. But, yeah, so I think if there was no football, I think we would have just seen how it affected everybody. The same way it would be affecting everybody now. I mean, there would be no football or basketball. So I think that people will be looking for an outlet. I always said that they may have played like fantasy life, like bet it on each other, use different towns.
I've thought about that before.
Yeah, it could have been fun.
Yeah. Now, kind of along those lines, how do you think the show would change if it was about a different fantasy sport, let's say fantasy baseball or something?
Um, I don't think that fantasy baseball is nearly as interesting as fantasy football, only because there's such a huge amount of games. And, for football, it's all about that one game once a week on Sunday. So everything kind of culminate around that. And I just think it's a more engaging thing. Basketball and baseball, it's kind of like a longer journey, where
Yeah,
football is
absolutely.
a very quick season. And every matchup really counts. Every game counts.
Yeah. So I know a lot of the show is improvised. Is it really hard to improvise but also stay in character?
To me, that's the best part of the show because we just kind of get on set and we get our scripts pretty late. So sometimes we're not 100% familiar even with the full script when we're going into shoot. So we just kind of lock into those characters and let the situation take us. I love it. I mean, it gets almost easier every year as you find more stuff out. That's why you want to challenge yourself in the improv to not repeat similar things.
Right, right. Now, I mean, I find all you guys hilarious. So when you guys are hanging out, maybe offset, and you're not in your roles, is it funny being around these guys?
Yeah, it's the best cast that I've ever worked with. I mean, they're so funny, and everyone's doing so many different things, which is really exciting. Like you have, I do my own show. Nick Kroll's doing his own show. Steve Ranazizi's touring around the country as a comic. LaJoie is making these videos, and Mark and Katie Duplass are independent filmmakers. So we all come from a very different background. So it's fun, but it actually is. They're a cool group of people to hang out with. 'Cause they're all
Yeah,
kinda different.
yeah, absolutely. Are any of them kind of like their characters in the show?
I think that there's probably an element to all of our characters that we have inside of us. I don't think that, there are definitely things about me that are nerdy like Andre, but I don't dress like Andre. I don't act like that. I'm not ostracized like that.
Oh
But
no,
there's
of
definitely
course.
elements, but there are definitely elements in there. And I think, same thing with Steve. Like Steve never won, in our league. He's never won in our league, and I don't think he's won in his league. So I think there is that same kind of thing. There's a lot of us in the characters, definitely.
Right. Okay. So this is my last question for you. What's the most fun you've had on the show?
The most fun, I think to me is, I mean, it sounds so kind of base, but it really is like coming to set every day because you don't know what anyone else is going to do.
Right.
So we constantly are just trying to make each other break during takes and stuff like that. I know that's probably what a lot of people say about that sort of stuff, but we do that. I mean, and I guess for me, I think some of the most fun too is when what I get to wear is amazing. Like every day, seeing what's in my trailer, it's insane. And this season, when I had to grow out my hair and my beard, just looking like a ridiculous freak was.
I like the look.
Yeah, it was a good look. It was a magician rapist look.
Right.
But yeah, no. So I think that to me, it's really just how are people going to top it, And I wrote an episode. I wrote 2 episodes with Nick Kroll last year, and we wrote 1 episode this year together. So it's really fun to kind of create an episode and see where it goes and how it even gets better along the way. So that's a lot of fun too.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day. We really appreciate it, Paul.
All right, no problem. Thanks, man. Bye.
Take care.